Today is a coffee day. All day. 18 cups of coffee. Hi, Becca. Hi, peeps. How are you all? What a fucking week, huh? How's everybody doing? Hi, Jonathan. Thank you, friends. Welcome to Woke Wednesday. If this is your first time, welcome. This is me. Hi, son of Baldwin. Hey. Hi, friend. Hi, Robert. How are you? Sending you so much love. Folks, it's been a fucking week, and I know that if you tune in every Wednesday, I say the same goddamn thing. I want to start off with the Chauvin case, and then I want to move into, the fact that within hours of the decision in the Derek Chauvin trial, Black people in America were not even allowed to have a deep breath, to have any relief, because within hours of this guilty verdict, guilty across the board, we experienced what? Another fucking murder, another killing. This time of a 16-year-old girl. I just want to put into context where America has been over the last several weeks of this trial. So the Derek Chauvin trial for the murder of George Floyd took roughly 2 weeks. Deliberations took 11 hours. In that 2-week time of one police officer on trial for the vicious and heinous murder of an unarmed and handcuffed man, we were interrupted not once, but twice. Today, folks, today, right now, as I am live, Daunte Wright's viewing is happening because Daunte Wright, 20 years old, was murdered by former officer Kim Potter, who is now currently in prison, charged with second-degree manslaughter for his murder. Why is Daunte Wright's family without their son, their brother, their cousin, their loved one today? Because Kim Potter pulled Daunte Wright over because he had air freshener hanging from his rearview mirror, as millions of people do across this country. But what we know, and if you tune into Woke AF Daily, when I have our legal expert, Glenn Kirshner, who's an MSNBC legal analyst, join us, he has talked about the fact that police are able to pull people over for the smallest infractions. The broken taillight, the dented license plate, the registration not being apparent, all as a ruse to be able to search and seize, right? So Daunte Wright would be alive had he been allowed to exist while driving while Black in this country. He is not. Because what we have seen throughout the course of this nation's history over the past 2 fucking weeks is that police have absolutely no fucking restraint. Oh, let me not say that. Because of course they have restraint. When the assailants, people who are actually guilty and criminals, are white and look like them, then they have the ability to de-escalate situations. So the Chauvin case was interrupted first for the killing of Daunte Wright, and then a fucking week later for the killing of Adam Toledo, a 13-year-old child who, through body cam footage, had his hands above his head. Now, what I continue to see on social media from misinformed or just blatant racist fucking motherfuckers is, well, Adam Toledo had a weapon. Because I have not even gotten to Micaiah yet. We haven't gotten there. But Adam Toledo had a weapon. Oh, okay. So police should shoot you then when you have a weapon. Or they should shoot you then if you have committed murder. Well, then let me bring up Kyle Rittenhouse. You guys know Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse is a white 17-year-old kid that drove across state lines during the 2020 uprisings with an AR-15, shot and killed 2 protesters, walked past police officers with an AR-15 slung over his goddamn shoulders, and do you know what they asked of him? Do you need any water, son? When he was finally picked up, he was captured, what, folks? Let's all say it together. Alive. Kyle Rittenhouse, not only did he have a bunch of white evangelical Christians raise over 6 figures for his killer, murderous ass, but that motherfucker is out on bond. Out on bond. There were pictures of him at bars, hanging out. But Daunte Wright's family and friends are at his viewing right now because of air freshener that was hanging in his fucking rear view mirror. So you tell me, what do you think would have happened if Daunte Wright had been Kyle Rittenhouse walking around the streets of Wisconsin, the streets of Minnesota, with a fucking AR-15 slung over his shoulder? He was driving a car with air freshener hanging, and he is dead. Every single fucking time we get to a place in this country where we are told to be calm, to have faith in a justice system that is anything other than just, we continue to be told, be peaceful about your interaction with police because you don't want to give them any excuse to kill you. Be peaceful with police? Oh, you mean like the insurrectionists in January were peaceful? You mean like the insurrectionists in Michigan were peaceful when they stormed the state capitol because they don't want to wear a mask, right? Because they didn't like the stay-at-home order that was put in place to keep their fucking asses safe and alive. Every single time I get some fucking troll who wants to respond to a tweet I have sent or a post that I have written on Instagram about, well, we've all seen the video. He clearly threw a gun. Bitch, Dylan Roof killed 9 fucking people in South Carolina, and he was brought to Burger King for a snack before he went to jail. He's still alive. Every single time they steal one of our children, fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, people, human beings from the Black community, they want to give an excuse as to why it happened. So if you haven't seen this yet, folks, if you haven't seen this yet, go and Google search the initial report from police about the killing of George Floyd. Pull that up and you read it and you tell me, right? If it had not been for Darnella Frazier, a 17-year-old child who had to bear witness for all of us to the murder of one of her neighbors, to bear witness, she had to bear witness and now bear trauma for the rest of her life so that we could hold out for accountability for George Floyd. But if there had been no video, folks, if you go back and you look at that police statement, which is just another term for a book of fucking lies, you would see that they referred to the murder of George Floyd as a medical incident. A medical incident. That's what they said in the police report. That the assailant was resisting arrest, Police were able to subdue him. Once he was picked up by EMT, he arrived at the hospital dead. No, he was dead on the fucking pavement while Derek Chauvin still had his knee on his neck. So if it had not been for Darnella Frazier, for the courage and the bravery of a 17-year-old child to record the heinous acts of police that are supposed to protect and serve, that bullshit fucking statement from the Minneapolis Police Department would have stood. That's why all of us who have sense, who have consciousness, who have hearts, were on pins and needles feeling sick yesterday. Because we know the deal. You don't need to be in America that fucking long to know the deal, see the patterns, that whiteness will always protect whiteness. Right? That if it is not for video and multiple eyewitness, then we wouldn't even be talking about a trial, right? Because that Minneapolis, the police department, in that statement, were going to let Derek Chauvin walk. Not even walk, because he wasn't going nowhere. They weren't kicking him off the force, right? So this week, today, it was announced that Merrick Garland's Justice Department, which I can tell you, I love the way that that rolls off my tongue. I hope that every time that Mitch McConnell has to refer to Attorney General Merrick Garland, that he feels fucking sick, right? That his name gets caught up in his throat, because it fucking should. But he announced today that his Department of Justice, right? Because we can refer to it as that now, that it's no longer gripped into the tentacles of William Barr, that they are investigating the Minneapolis Police Department for their use of excessive force, right? For their patterns of misbehavior that seem to continually get swept under the fucking rug. So this brings me to our latest interruption of even being able to acknowledge the fact that since 2005, folks, we are in 2021, since 2005, ask me how many police officers have been convicted of killings of citizens that they were sworn to protect. Ask me how many. Since 2005, including yesterday, only 7 police officers have been convicted of crimes against the people that they swear to protect. 7. Jen Psaki, Biden's White House press secretary, said that, here's the thing, this is what President Biden said, it is way too hard to convict police officers of wrongdoing, and that needs to change. Well, that only comes through policy change, right? There is the George Floyd police reform bill that is waiting to move through the Senate. Is that going to actually fucking happen? Or is it just a series of Band-Aids? Because you see what happens, folks, that every time that we go through these traumatic events, then what do we see? We see a bunch of fucking police officers, videos, right, that will be circulating on Twitter and Instagram of white cops playing with black kids. Look, they're not all that bad. It's just a couple of bad apples. Over the next couple of weeks, we will be able to hear, the stories of folks trying to distance themselves from Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin will be made out to be just the one bad apple that got what he deserved, not the apple that is part of a poisonous orchard that spans the entirety of these United States. These cases aren't about those individuals. It is about a system. When I listened to the defense, right? When you listened to the defense and what they based their case on, they based their case on what former slaveholders based the justification on slavery under, right? Which is that black people need to be restrained. They need to be beaten down. They have superhuman strength. They are both so powerful and so weak that they need to be treated as both children and deranged animals. When I listen to the defense talk about the fact that, oh, could somebody potentially harm you if they're handcuffed and in the prone position? Or that people sleep in the prone position? Or that there was a fear that George Floyd was going to wake up from the dead and essentially attack the city as if he was what? Some human version of King Kong? Are you fucking kidding me? But you see, folks, here is the reality of where we are, is that these tropes, these lies have been used to justify our terror, our torture for centuries. And it was the basis of their fucking case. Every single time one of these murders happens, listen to what they say. I feared for my life. You have training, but you are fearing for your life because the mere presence of blackness, of black skin, of deepened melanin conjures up what? Conjures up the fear and the lies that white people have been sharing with each other and sharing with all of us through our public education system since the beginning of time. Black people are dangerous. We have to do what is necessary to protect those that come into contact with them. Right? It is always about the protection of others from us. It is not about our protection. So yesterday, mere hours after handcuffs are slapped on Derek Chauvin, and we see him escorted out of the courtroom, never to breathe free air again. A 16-year-old girl was shot 4 times in the chest by a police officer. Now, body camera footage was quickly released, as these police departments are doing nowadays, because we know that when they take weeks, months, or maybe never release footage, we know that they're fucking lying. How long does it take to tell the truth? Only a moment. How long does it take to conjure an entire lie that the department will back you up on? A little bit more time. So they released the body footage, the body camera footage, immediately yesterday. So what do we see, folks? We see Ma'Khia lunge, or what looks like a lunge. We see what possibly could look like a knife or a weapon. And then we see police officers roll up and shoot. Now, what was asked today at the press conference that was given by the acting police chief in Columbus, Ohio, by reporters actually asking thoughtful fucking questions instead of the bullshit that they usually ask. Why wasn't Ma'Khia, I don't know, shot in the leg or the arm? Or here's a better idea. Why was there no audible warning from the police that rolled up to what they expressed was some type of disturbance, right? So when you watch the video, which folks don't, like you honestly, like we've seen enough. I accidentally watched the video as these things seem to transpire with me. And I'm thinking to myself, is it just in cartoons and movies where police roll up to a situation unfolding and they say, freeze, stop, hands up, nobody move, everybody on the ground? All of these instructions that would have those that are in the midst of committing whatever act, they would have you be warned. Stop what you are doing. Drop the weapon. Back away. What we know to be true, and what the acting police chief in Columbus, Ohio, where the case of Ma'Khia Bryant is now unfolding or being investigated by the Bureau Council Investigation, the BCI, which is what they were referring to today in their press conference. this independent investigation, when the police chief was asked, why was there no warning? Do you know what his response was? It's not our policy. Now, he didn't say it nonchalantly. I will say that. But he said it's not our policy to warn people. It's not our policy to not shoot to kill, which is what he also said. Officers are not trained to not shoot to kill. They also don't have to announce that they are going to shoot you. We don't know why Makia called the cops. We don't know what was happening, but I will offer this because I've been thinking about this because now, my sleep was interrupted. I was fucking already on level 1,000 yesterday. And then in the midst of feeling a little bit of relief, then get text messages from colleagues saying, oh shit, there was another shooting. Why, folks, would police officers not have to announce that they're getting ready to use deadly force? Here's the thing. You all went to high school, I'm assuming, right? Do you guys remember people getting into fights, people getting jumped, during school, after school, whether or not you grew up in the fucking suburbs, a rural place, or the city? Kids get into fights. There are lots of fucking hormones, lots of miscommunication, lots of bullshit. I can remember several times when kids knew that they were going to get jumped. And do you know what they did? They brought fucking knives or whatever they could bring to protect themselves. But do you know what teachers would do when those fights broke out in school? Do you think they opened up fire and just started shooting their students? No, they didn't. They actually intervened to de-escalate the situation because kids, especially hormonal teenagers, can be out of whack in terms of how they are dealing with situations. So teachers would do what was necessary to intervene, to take away said weapon, to have people go into separate spaces, talk it out, do whatever. We have teachers that are able to do more de-escalation than the fucking police. How does that make sense? How is that rational? That teachers in high schools are able to do more to de-escalate when there are more of those kids than there are of the actual teachers. But I'm supposed to believe that officers who are trained and have both guns and tasers, which I'll also get to, on their hips, don't know or are not trained to de-escalate a situation? No, folks. We've been sold a bag of bullshit. What we know, what we have seen case by fucking case is that de-escalation is a motherfucking choice. It is a choice. Just like poverty in this country is a fucking choice. Just like defunding public education is a choice. Just like dismissing all of our social services is a fucking choice. So don't tell us lies and gaslight us into believing these people are entering into the most dangerous profession. Guess what? That too is a choice. You don't have to become a cop. Ain't nobody asking you to. If you can't fucking handle it, do something else. How many times are we told cops have such a difficult job that we are supposed to empathize with their plight? I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Because I know that police department budgets are triple, quadruple that of teachers' budgets. And yet they're dealing with regular mass shooting drills, all of the shit. figuring out how now to teach on Zoom full classes so that we don't have a generation of children that fall behind, which is happening, right? We demand so much more of our teachers in this country than we do the fucking police. I'm supposed to feel bad for you making a choice to take on a dangerous fucking job? Where you get a pension and all of this shit rolled up? What the fuck do teachers get? Not a goddamn thing. So miss me with the bullshit about how I'm supposed to have empathy for you choosing to put yourself in a job that could possibly get you killed. That's not my fucking problem. And again, if you do not have the mental, emotional capacity to be able to deal with said position, then you shouldn't have it. But when I listened to the Columbus, Ohio police chief today in the press conference about the killing of a 16-year-old child, on the heels of the killing of a 13-year-old child, on the heels of the killing of a 20-year-old child, on the heels of the murders of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks and all of the people whose names did not become headlines over the past year plus. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? What are we doing in this country? I was on the phone last week with a friend that lives in Canada, and he says to me, you know, Danielle, I hope you stay safe. And he wasn't fucking talking about COVID. He's like, America seems like it is on some fucking shit. America is on some fuck shit. 2 weeks of a trial that the world is watching. 2 weeks of a trial that the world's watching. And we couldn't suspend killing unarmed black children in that 2 weeks' time. American exceptionalism where? Let me tell you something. If we can threaten teachers with the loss of their jobs because kids weren't meeting the test, right? Remember, No Child Left Behind and all of these standardized tests to blame teachers for the reason why kids were not learning, as opposed to, you know, the fact that you don't resource schools in the way that you should and resource educators in the way that you should. Where is the accountability that we hold police officers to? Because they never lose their jobs, definitely not when they kill somebody, not when they maim somebody. 7 police officers from 2005 to 2021, 7, that's the number of convictions we've had? These people are literally getting away with murder. So why would they stop? We keep saying that this case, the Chauvin case and the outcome of this trial can be some type of reckoning. But in order to have a reckoning, you have to look at what the fuck is unfolding. We live in a country where the former administration wanted to push back so much against the true history of this country as it was relayed to us in the 1619 Project, that they came out with their own bullshit to teach kids about how great and magical white America is with their 1776 commission. That is how much in denial, forced denial, this country is. So you can only say that something is a reckoning and will change when there is a desire to change it by the people who are in power. Understand, the only reason why we got to this moment is because of Darnella Frazier, a 17-year-old child. Rodney King was also caught on tape. They let him walk. They've been murdering our kids, us, for 500 years without any recourse. So why would you stop? Why would you stop doing something that nobody tells you is wrong? Derek Chauvin knew what the fuck he was doing. His officer friends knew what the fuck they were doing. In a couple of weeks' time, the other 3 officers will be on trial as well for not intervening, for doing nothing. But you see, again, folks, what is the reality? Is that when you teach that black people are inferior, when you teach that black people are dangerous, right? Then any use of force is necessary. I saw people on Twitter today saying, well, Makia had a knife. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what she had. Because there were grown-ass fucking men in uniform that rolled up to that situation. You can't de-escalate a fucking teenagers? You can't de-escalate a fucking fight? Then what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Our kids are not fucking target practice. And then they want Rush to tell us to be calm. Fuck you. Because it seems that cops are never calm. Motherfucking trigger happy. Walking around here just pop, 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 pop. Doesn't matter. But we're supposed to remain calm. If you look at the video of this latest heinous, horrific scene, I'm telling you, it doesn't look like cops were there for 5 minutes. I don't even think they were there for minutes before they rolled up, opened up fire, and shot Makia Bryant 4 times directly in the chest. Let me tell you something. Dan Formella, that is in my comments right now, saying, raise your kids better. Bitch, get the fuck up off of my IG live. In all honesty. I don't want your bullshit. I don't want none of your nonsense. Because if I tell you the list of white fucking kids that have been murdering up schools around here, get the fuck out. You people think I have time for this shit. I really don't. I have time to have conversations with people that are interested in actually being conscious, that are interested in being a part of conversations about how we solve some of the biggest problems in this country, which stem from white supremacy and the lies that we continue to perpetuate through our media, through our education system, through our healthcare system. Why do you think that there are so many fucking disparities, right? We think that that's just, because, black people are just lazy. Would have nothing to do with the fact that you stole from us, that you not only stole from us, but the indigenous people whose land you robbed, right? And then there's no wealth to build on top of when you create policies that are about disenfranchising and harming everyone other than white people. But you want to say, raise your kids better. Go fuck yourself. Folks, the anger that we feel right now is real. The anxiety, the pins and needles, the depression, the sadness, the grief is real. If you find yourself, like I have for the past couple of weeks, finding it very difficult to work, to focus, to put real energy forward because you're just like, why? Or you find yourself just out of nowhere, bursting into tears, know that you are not alone, and it is not coming out of nowhere. There's only so much we can all take before we burst. And I'm telling you, 2 weeks' time, 3 more murders of unarmed or armed people, black people, brown people, but white murderers, serial murderers, are apprehended without a hair removed from their head? Folks, if you can remember back to, the beginning of April, when there were 8 women murdered at the massage parlor, 6 of whom were Asian, by a white supremacist that the media refused to say that was, right? The fetishism of Asian women, right? He actually got to cross towns. He was apprehended without being killed and murdered 8 people. Tell me how every time white people commit heinous crimes that they are apprehended without a hair removed from their heads. But then we are continued to be told that nothing can be done to stop the unnecessary killing of Black and brown people by police. That nothing can be done. The police just have such a hard job. I'm exhausted. And I know that all of you are too. And what I offer to you is to reach out to your family, to your friends, to talk to a therapist. If you don't have one, get one. There are places that have free, services. But we collectively are under so much pressure, so much pain. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. That if you feel crazy, if you found yourself yesterday, today, over the past couple of weeks, months, year, in pain, know that you are not alone. There are so many people that are feeling the same way that you do. All I can say as I wrap up here today is continue to breathe. Meditate if you meditate like I do. Exercise if that's your jam to get out anxiety and stress. Fucking order yourself in some takeout that you like. Have a glass of wine, smoke a joint, do whatever it is that you need to do in order to try and find a way to align yourself, to bring down, as my mother says, your cortisol level so that you are not taking all of this on. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay not to watch the videos. It does not mean that you don't care. It's okay to turn off the news. It does not mean that you do not care. It means that you care about your mental health. It means that you want to preserve some sense of sanity in your life. There are other ways to show that you care without subjecting yourself constantly to trauma. Because 2nd degree trauma, 3rd degree trauma is actually a fucking thing. We're not supposed to see all of these videos, folks. We're not supposed to be inundated with headlines about mass shootings and racialized killings. And it's not supposed to be the normal. But in America, my God, this country has a love affair with terror, hate, and violence against people who are not white, who are not Christian. It's who are not straight. It's mind-blowing. And so if you are a person that is a member of a marginalized community or at the intersection of multiple marginalized communities, take good care of yourself and your well-being. Because, now more than ever, we need to really focus on our mental health and have open and honest conversations about how we're doing. Because it's all just too fucking much. Folks, if you are not a subscriber to Woke AF Daily, my daily hour-long podcast, check me out on patreon.com/wokeaf. $5 a month for 5 brand new shows a week. You should also check me out with my friend Torre on Democracy-ish. You can get that free wherever you get your podcasts. Support independent Black voices, support queer Black voices, support folks who are unapologetic about the truths of this country. And the fact is that everybody needs to take their fucking rose-colored glasses off and take their heads out of the sand and recognize that this country has a lot of things fucking wrong with it. And it can be each of our responsibilities to figure out how we can do right by the people around us. And that's what we talk about on Woke AF. So again, hit me up at patreon.com/wokeaf. Y'all, take good fucking care of yourselves, of each other. I will be back next week, Wednesday, with hopefully something better to discuss, but given the way that things work in this country, probably not. So keep hanging on. Power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke and stay woke as fuck.